Why are we talking about alcohol when we're drinking coffee?
Because I was trying to talk about something with you when you were making the coffee, but you kept fucking up. So you almost broke the fridge. He pressed the cocoa button.
I woke up and I was expecting you to have, my Irish coffee ready, and you couldn't even make me Mexican coffee.
I told you,
tequila.
Do I look like a Mick? No, I'm not making no Irish coffee.
Then you can make me a Mexican coffee.
You don't like tequila.
You're right, and tequila and coffee sounds disgusting.
What's vodka coffee? Is there a
Russian
coffee?
I don't know. I made up Mexican coffee. I don't think that's a thing.
No, it is.
Okay.
They even have tequila pre-made coffee tequila liqueurs, which that will fuck you up. Like, it's a little Patron coffee.
Oh, yes.
You've seen that before? Yeah. You will go sideways on that.
I thought that was just a experiment that they did that failed, because no one I've ever known has tried it or liked it.
Well, when we were at Total Wine, I saw it on the shelf, so I guess it's still popular.
Well, they need to discontinue that and bring back the Stoli Gold, I guess.
Stoli Gold, for those at home listening, it was like a nicer. Well, I don't know where they're listening. They could be listening.
No,
in their car.
I'm just saying it's 7:48 in the morning and we're talking about alcohol. What is wrong with us?
We need an intervention. Oh, that brings me to another point, but I'll get to that after this. Stoli Gold was a nicer version of Stoli vodka, which is already a top shelf vodka. But, I mean, it's top shelf. What are you mmming? It's better than Smirnoff. Anyway.
Well, yeah.
It's not like before there was Belvedere and Grey Goose and all this stuff. Stoli was the best vodka that you could get.
Okay.
So there you go. No, it's a great vodka, but it makes it even better. It's a very clean version, and for some reason they discontinued it, and I have no idea why. So it's been like a mad chase to find a few remaining bottles, which I found on accident in an Idaho State liquor store for $19.99 a bottle. It was cheaper than Smirnoff or anything else that was there. So. I asked them, and they said, yeah, we get a couple bottles in every now and then, but it's not that pop. I mean, nobody really knows what it is, but it's really good. So if you can find Stoli Gold, listeners, buy it.
But they discontinued it.
Well, apparently they discontinued it, but some Total Wines still have it for some reason. I don't know if it's the remaining stock or if they're getting new stock. I don't know. But. Oh, I was saying this brings me to another point, talking about alcoholism. I have a breaking news update, and I think I mentioned it on the last cast, but I want to really round it out. The Starbucks in West Hollywood is closing forever.
We've now had this on 3 episodes.
No, this deserves full news coverage, KTLA helicopters with that tranny flying it and everything like that. Zoe Tur, the one that grabbed Ben Shapiro and was like, something like, if you call me a man again, I'll put you in the hospital or something like that. And probably could, Zoe Tur was famously the newscaster who covered OJ and a bunch of other things. And the helicopter daughter, Katie Tur, and then came out as a trans. So there's all that. But WeHo Starbucks closing, WeHoville wrote the most dramatic eulogy. And I have to read part of it out loud.
God.
Will you quit moaning? What the fuck else do you have going on this morning that's more exciting than this?
Well, I do have work to do, but I'm on my second cup of coffee with no alcohol, and you're bringing up this bullshit.
Will you swear to God. Not WeHoville, it's the WeHo Times, which I don't think is, it's up there with the New York Times. I think I have more followers than the WeHo Times does, but I don't know. I don't know if it's even a real paper.
I think they used to follow me, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Before I got political.
Well, apparently they said they found I found another piece here. They found some cell phone thieves in West Hollywood. They caught them with 17 phones in each of their pockets. That is the place.
Did they have Mary Poppins pockets? Who the hell can carry 17 phones?
I don't know. I didn't know that was possible. Okay, so here's their eulogy. It's sad but true. The Starbucks at 8595 Santa Monica Boulevard in the Ramada Plaza is closing July 31st after operating on the corner of Santa Monica Boulevard and Westmount Drive since it first opened its double doors in 1995. So, if that Starbucks was a person, it would have been already groped by one of the customers at that Starbucks. And there were a lot of leches. Lech, is that the term? Lex?
Lecherous people?
Lecherous people at that Starbucks. I mean, there'd be people who would walk in, flip open Grindr, sit there all day and scroll through, find someone, and leave. Like, one guy bragged about doing that. He met someone on Grindr every single day. I don't know. He's probably dead. And he had one of those weird southern names like Brantley or Hunter or Branston or something like that. He was a big lib. He was also an asshole, so I don't know. I got him to be nice, but he was very mean to everybody. Anyway, he's the hardest hit by this. An employee confirms that the big gay Starbucks in West Hollywood is closing due to safety and security concerns, which I think after the manager got stabbed, I think that its days were numbered.
You know they're going to start yelling homophobia.
Of course. Well, they're closing the one in downtown.
Starbucks.
Well, listen to this. The closing of the big gay Starbucks is a huge blow to community members still recovering over the loss of the 24-hour fitness sport gym.
Oh my God.
Now, I know many people who live in that neighborhood. I don't know anybody who's still, like, recovering from the closing of the disgusting 24-hour fitness across the street.
Do you know... Okay. Why would you read me this? Because this is filling me with seething hatred, and I just want to drop those people off who are complaining about that right in the heart of Baghdad and say, go suck a dick out there and see what happens.
My mom said the same thing before she dropped me off at prom. No, this is some sad twink wrote this. Not a single person who had actually gone to this believes this. The 24-hour fitness was so gross. It was the number one cruising spot on the boulevard in West Hollywood, and you'd have these creepy old men who would go in there, and if you're like a 2, they would hit on you. And some guy got so overstimulated once, he died in the sauna, and they had to close the... They didn't close the whole gym, they just closed the sauna while they, dragged his ass out. So that's fascinating. Anyway, the coffee chain has been a part of the West Hollywood community for decades. Many may remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, when the location was dubbed the WeHo Beach because gay men sat outside shirtless and worked on their tan lines. Nobody called it that. Someone made this up in retrospect. I mean, there are plenty of nipples on that patio, but there's nothing you wanted to see, The West Hollywood sober community will also... What?
I don't understand how that's possible. I mean, there might be 2 hours out of the day where a building is not obstructing the sunlight in that area.
And there's umbrellas out there. Who the fuck sat out there in tan? Nobody except for the homeless. The West Hollywood sober community will also feel the loss. This location has been home to fellowship groups who gather after local 12-step meetings. It has also been a quiet space to do some 12-step work. That is the biggest piece of bullshit in this entire
Find another
piece.
place. My God. There's 80 million coffee shops within walking distance. Find one that's not a, big chain and go support some fag who's trying to make a dream come true.
Now, here, I have to clarify this. I know people in that sober community, and I know where all of the meetings are. I dated somebody in that community. There is no 12-step meetings around that. I'm not giving away anybody's sobriety. There are no 12-step meetings around that Starbucks. None. So I don't know what they're talking about. There's one on the other end of West Hollywood, and they would go to the other Starbucks or coffee shops around the area. Near the Abbey, there is none at that Starbucks. There's one up in...
The sober people would go to a coffee shop right next to the Abbey? That's smart.
Yeah, exactly. They would have... Or at the 8000 Sunset area where the Starbucks is in West Hollywood, which is now going to be overrun with gays, more than it already was because it's by Crunch. That's where people would go. But nobody would go to this one. So I don't know who pulled this out of their ass. And I love how it's this is going to challenge people's sobriety.
There's lots of things up that ass, I'm sure.
Exactly. That is the biggest line of bullshit here. So this is the melodramatics from them about the loss of the worst Starbucks. It really was. And I went there every day for years. And I saw...
You made it the worst Starbucks?
I helped make it better. Because I was the only young person there who wasn't chased away by the creepy old men. because I didn't care. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, I'll wear short shorts. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do? You sit here and keel over while you try to, catch a peek? I loved that this was the same place, like I had said, where Leslie Jordan chased somebody out for yelling faggot. And I showed you yesterday. I found the video of it. There were many celebrity sightings here. Mickey Rourke, was in his trans era, was a popular fixture there. He's gay, right? Like, is he? Is that?
I don't know.
That's confirmed now, right? Like, he's basically like, he'll fuck anything that moves. He dresses like someone's like divorced Jersey aunt, like.
I don't know.
His little blonde man bun, and he holds a little Yorkie poo, and he wears tight shirts, and it's really upsetting. He's had more plastic surgery than this entire block. So, the other person I saw there, and I'm gonna probably make a few people upset because they know her, but it's true, and I have to be true. I'm a reporter. I have to tell the truth. Meghan McCain, who was by and large, according to all the baristas there.
Are you making fun of her weight? By and large.
No, but she loosened a few tiles. She was by and large the meanest person to come in there. And I know that, like, her gay husband's going to be upset at this, and other people too. But everybody said, all the managers and everything like this, they were like, she would come in demanding that they knew her regular order, which nobody knew, and it was very complicated. And she would just be rude to all the employees there who genuinely were good people. Like, the one good thing I liked about that is that you couldn't be nasty and survive there. Like, you had a great manager, all the people worked, and they worked really hard because that was a very busy Starbucks. So they're all working their ass off. And she would come in like a princess, like, don't you know who I am? She'd come in without makeup on, too, which was really upsetting for the other patrons. And so she was the most awful celebrity there. Leslie Jordan was probably one of the best celebrities. Everybody loves him. And Mickey Rourke was very nice, too. And others, there's a whole list of, like, people that I could name that would go there because it's on Santa Monica Boulevard. It's in the middle of everything. So anyway, I just want to mention that little fact. Do you have any more comments about the loss of Big Gay Starbucks?
No.
Did you ever go to that one? Oh, you said you went there during Pride.
He doesn't listen to me at all, apparently. The ghost in the house.
The ghost has been in the West Hollywood Star. It's a gay ghost.
The listeners are rolling their eyes right now because they know that I just talked about having gone there once.
Other than that, you never went?
No.
Like during normal times?
No.
Oh.
Why would I? I didn't live near there. I had 2 Starbucks that were much closer. One which was much bigger, and one that I could park at very easily.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you were on your way to a hair appointment or something. I don't fucking know.
That was the one time I went when I went to go get a haircut at a very strange, and I mean, you could just. They might as well stock poppers in the front lobby.
They probably do.
The man gave me he charged me $50 for like a 10-minute haircut, and it was like
no 10-minute haircut is worth $50.
It's like zip 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 zip. Okay, have fun at Pride. Bye, and like kick my ass out. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Let's put it this way. The haircut that I got from the ethnic barbershop near my apartment, which I paid $60 for, took him like an hour and a half, and he did a very, meticulous job on it.
Right.
So I thought, okay, maybe I'll save a few bucks and go get a haircut somewhere that is still nice. It was a nice place.
Right.
But it was clearly run by the gays who were like, only pretty people up front, ship him to the back, let's get him out in 10 minutes. And literally it was like, bzz, 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 all right, done. $50, thanks, bye. Like 10 minutes. I paid for an hour's worth of parking thinking it might take a while. And in 10 minutes I was out of there. So, I don't know, it wasn't worth $50, that's for sure.
You made me think of a larger point here. And I think it's an important thing to say. West Hollywood fucking sucks. Like, as a city. And I know it was started in 1984 so that gays, lesbians, older people, Russian immigrants all could come together and create a community that's separate from the city of Los Angeles, that supports renters and seniors and everything like that. And it is 0% that now. It is a tourist destination that is now year-round a tourist destination. It's not just for Pride. And the people there, I found by and large, are just kind of spiteful. Like their heels are sort of dug in at everything that's happened. And I've met so many of them between Starbucks and other places and things like that. And it's the worst combination of expensive and bad. Like, if it's expensive and good, that's Beverly Hills. Expensive and good. WeHo is the same prices, but for bad. Like haircuts, if you tanning, massages, everything that you would go there, that you would get anywhere else, it's just expensive and bad. And I know that tracks with the rest of the city as a whole, but you have these people there who are like, they're in their rent-controlled apartments, they pay $28 a month, bitching about developers and hotels and everything like that. And then when it comes time to vote for people, they vote for the candidates who support the developers and the hotels and the sort of Disneyification of West Hollywood.
I want to make it very clear that I did some digging and I did some shopping around to look for places to get my hair cut because I wanted something that was not, necessarily a barber, but something that was not,
You want them to use clippers.
That honestly doesn't matter to me, but I wanted something that was not like, what are those the barber shop pole? Like I didn't want
like the fades place.
I didn't want that kind of crap, but I wanted something not as upscale, so I wanted something in the middle. And so I did some shopping around, and it's worth noting that, as I said, like the ethnic place that I went, it was akin to like a barbershop, but they were doing nice work, and so that's why I went there.
Right.
But the other one next to my apartment, which was like literally, so they were both in walking distance, but this one was like almost next door to my apartment.
Right.
$120 for a men's haircut, and I was like,
no place
you
should charge
have got
that
to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like nothing would ever be worth. You couldn't do anything to my hair that would be worth $120.
You could get really crappy extensions, which I think would be funny. You look like Bret Michaels, but that's the issue, and I think that's why a lot of people come to LA from other places where things cost normal amounts, and then walk away feeling like it's the combination of expensive and bad. Like, there's no place to get a $5 lunch. There's no place to park.
We've completely gone off topic, but
there's no fucking topics.
We discussed some earlier,
yeah,
but you're bringing up something that you and I have discussed before, not on the show, but personally. In LA, there's tons of restaurants that are expensive, and they bill themselves as being fancy, and you go, and it's like, there might be a plastic glass, and there's a plastic drinking utensil, and the food is just kind of like,
well, it's there.
They make it look pretty, but it's like, okay, it doesn't taste that great, and you're being charged a lot of money. Here in Orange County, you can't get away with that shit. Like,
right.
If you're charging the amount of money that you're charging, it's going to be good food, and it's going to be nice. It's going to be on the proper plateware and all of that stuff. Otherwise, these people around here will run you out of town.
Well, here you've got the combination of two demographics, two of the maybe 3 or 4 demographics that are like this. Old people and Asians. They are cheap and they expect quality. Which, as do I, as do you, as does anybody, but more than most. They are cheap and they expect quality because they're on a fixed income. Asian families, from the time a child is born, by and large, are focused on that kid is going to need a house someday, that kid is going to need to go to college, that kid is going to have, and that's an expense. There's not, and that's just statistically, which is why you'll see them driving the same Toyota Siennas for 15, 20 years. Same as Orthodox Jews, same as many Middle Eastern demographics, same as Nigerian immigrants, and same as Mormon families and other large birth-producing demographics. That whole group of people is you need quantity, but you need it at a deal, and it needs to be high quality. And same thing with older people. They're on a fixed income. So a restaurant like we saw that taco place we went to the other night here in Orange County, it was happy hour and they were fucking slammed on for Taco Tuesday because right now people can't really afford to go out to dinner, and so you saw older people dressed in their their Tommy Bahama shirts and their shorts and other nice going out clothes because that's 2 tacos for $5 that are full size plus a margarita for $7. That's a deal. For $24, both the husband and wife, or a wife and a wife, can go out for dinner and leave happy. And where else can you do that now?
I don't know, but even all the other places we've been, the Quiet Woman,
wonderful, like A+ food at the price that's less than what you would spend at Red Lobster. Or one
their prices are quite reasonable,
yeah.
and but I've never had a bad bite of food there,
drink.
Not even like a bad meal. I've never had one bite of food that was not perfect.
And by the way, this is another thing that pisses me off about those kind of shishi restaurants that you were talking about that have like pretty food but it's not good. All those places now, they don't give you bread. They don't give you bread.
Yeah. You have to pay for it, yeah.
And that bothers me because there's many restaurants I go to that are nice and cheap. Nice restaurants or cheap restaurants where they give you bread. Mastro's gives you bread. Cheap places give you bread. There's a weird new sort of middle of the road thing of like it's not chic to give people bread or something, a bowl of nuts, something like that to have with your drink when you first get there.
Which doesn't make sense because they're throwing out a lot of bread at the end of the night.
Right.
Because they can't, most bread can't be repurposed the next day.
Right.
They're just throwing it out.
Well, Mastro's is smart because when they give you the bread basket, they give you 2 slices of like a crostini. So it's definitely yesterday's bread, but then they put a little cheese and olive oil on it and fry it, and heat it up. I don't trust those places where everything is a la carte, everything is expensive, and it's like $100 a person with a drink or two, and you leave going, yeah, that wasn't worth it. And shame on the food reviewers, not Jonathan Gold. Jonathan Gold was brilliant. We miss him. Jonathan Gold and Anthony Bourdain were 2 of the most realistic food reviewers. But shame on the Eater LA bullshit people who go in there and are like, oh my gosh, this place is so innovative. They mix Cambodian cuisine with Inuit. So it's like there's like a little bit of like a ghost pepper, but also whale blubber, and we just love that. Like those are those fucking people who talk about intersectionality on a plate. And they give great reviews to places that are shit.
Well, as much as I hate to do it, I will call out, Lisa Vanderpump. I love her to death. I've always had excellent service and decent food at Pump, but is not worth the prices that are being charged.
Pump is a drinks and appetizers place.
The drinks are good, but again, they're expensive.
Unless you get the pitcher.
Right. So the best thing to do is to go for brunch when you can get the pitcher, and that's economical. Yeah. That's a good deal. But
the same thing with Sir though. The drinks are great. The food is
the food at Pump is like I said, it's decent, but they're charging far too much. They're
charging tourist prices for food. It's not a food place.
But there are a lot of restaurants in LA like that.
Yeah. That's a very common thing. Like everything has to be Bubba Gump's now. And that's kind of upsetting. Although here's the part that I don't understand. Because her restaurant Villa Blanca in Beverly Hills, the food
was different. Yeah.
Unbelievably good
and
for the price.
And that's the one that went out of business.
Yeah. It was like, the food's too good, we have to close it. Like their salmon pizza, which was like a takeoff of the Spago one, was very good.
Yeah, and I mean, back when that one was open, I didn't feel that their prices were outrageous, but
especially for the area.
But the food was very good. Yeah.
Tom Tom's
I imagine they went out of business because the rent was too expensive.
Yeah. Well, I still haven't tried the food at Tom Tom's because every time I've gone, there's too many fucking people to sit there and eat food. But the drinks there are strong and enormous.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know why that. There is a sort of undercurrent of we're going to hire the same people, illegal. We're going to hire this, to make the same food at every restaurant. You're all going to be drunk. You don't care how it fucking tastes. So there you go, and you're going to pay for it anyway because this is LA. And this is not a big city thing either, because I've never had a bad meal in Chicago, and I've never had a bad meal in New York City. Ever. And I've tried all sorts of expensive places, cheap places. All the food's fucking good. That's an only here thing.
So I'm going to make an executive decision live on the podcast.
What?
I told this. I suggested this the other day, yesterday, and we both thought it was a good idea. But I want to incorporate this into it. Every week we are going to try a new restaurant, and not like a chain, but like a new restaurant here in Orange County.
Yeah.
And we will give a short review for the podcast.
That'd be great.
Of wherever we go, and obviously they don't live here; they don't really care. But I think it would be a fun.
I think so. Because again, I don't think I had a bad meal here either. I didn't have a bad meal in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
When our listeners come in and visit us and sleep in the guest room, I'm sorry, when our listener visits us and comes and sleeps in the guest room,
that's the ultimate experience. We need to have a Patreon, and if you subscribe at the $100 a month tier, you may stay one weekend with us in our home.
And we'll take you to whichever of the restaurants and
we'll take you to a meal, and then you can buy us drinks.
Yeah. Oh.
We're already putting you up and getting you dinner. What the fuck else do we want? What do you want? Yeah. You want us to give you a foot massage too? No.
No, they can buy us drinks. Meaning their tab's going to be $500, knowing how much we drink.
That one weekend's that's going to cost you more than the flights. We're really bad dates.
Yeah. You're right. Maybe that's why I can't land one.
No one's ever bought me a drink on a date.
Well, you're the top. What do you expect?
But the closest I've come is splitting. Also because I usually would have dates at happy hour places anyway where I knew the drinks were cheap.
Again, you're the top. What do you expect?
I don't know.
To be treated like a woman?
No. Let me love you like a woman.
Don't bring her into this.
Can we talk about Lana's new boyfriend?
No. Can we talk about the things that we were supposed to talk about? Because we're supposed to be talking about politics because we're not drinking.
That's boring. Can we talk about Lana's new boyfriend? So he looks like he smells.
I don't think he's new.
Well, the past couple months.
No.
Year? I thought she was in quarantine alone. With, like, women.
No.
Coven.
No. She's been dating, like, a... This is why she got a lot of flack, too.
This guy's not the cop.
He's not?
No.
Okay, well, she was dating the cop.
She was dating the cop. No, this guy's
all
new.
During quarantine, and they were in love.
Well, he's dead. I don't know. She's dating this guy, this Jack Donaghy, whatever.
I had no idea.
But, I think people are freaking out, and of course the gays, because he looks like everyone's straight fantasy. And... there's a picture of him kissing his cousin, who's a man. But it's like a joke. And I think the thing that really bowls people over with this is he's normal. He's literally just like a normal fucking... Like, he could be your cousin. Kissing cousin. But that's why people are losing it. Oh my gosh, she's dating somebody. Because she's a normal fucking girl. Like, and he's a normal dude. But I don't know what they expected. So
I wouldn't classify Lana as normal, but she's a normal American girl, yes. But
unlike that cunt Taylor Swift,
Lana's living in the 40s.
Yeah, but
hey, I wish I were living in the 40s.
Unlike Taylor Swift, daughter of investment banker, like I just grew up as a little middle class girl in Tennessee, and I just had a guitar and a dream. Bullshit. You had a pension plan. I mean, Lana's dad is still some money person in Connecticut, but not. She never pretended to just be some random girl. In that way, she's more authentic than Taylor Swift ever was.
And to this day, I still don't think she's ever won a Grammy.
What?
I don't think Lana's ever won a Grammy.
Didn't she win?
She's been nominated for many, but I don't think she's ever won.
I have to look. did Lana win a Grammy?
Live Google search.
Nominee. No.
Yeah. She never won. She's always been nominated.
No. She needs to attend that music and men business conference. The men in music business conference. What the fuck was that line?
She put on her white dress. I don't know.
I just thought of Azalea was taking down Lana, and then my brain jumped to they showed a picture of Kate Bush recently, and they were like, she looks like she stopped running up that hill.
Oh my god.
It was so mean, but it was funny. Huey Long. Most Americans, I think, have either heard of him, but that's as far as it goes. Like, they're like, him, populist Louisiana. That's as far as everyone's understanding of him goes. I think that with my history education, the furthest they went was they basically described him in one sentence as like a villain of the early 20s and 30s, and that was it. And then it was, as with most things that I learned in U.S. history class, bullshit, because I went on later in like one of those deep dives, like Wikipedia and other sources and things like that. I'm like, why is this man not considered an American hero? Because what he did at the time, although I don't know, it was one of those. There's many American figures, and I want to put him in the category of a McCarthy, a Lindbergh, and others that were insanely popular at the time. Like something like 80 to 90% approval and support among the American people, and name recognition. And today you do not hear about. And the only time you do is if like it's a strictly negative context. They have been memory holed out of history. So you, a Luan de Lesseps?
Huh?
You as a Louisiana born and bred, what is your take on Huey Long?
Well, we learned about him extensively in Louisiana history. He is regarded as one of the best governors of Louisiana because... So there's a lot of parallels to Trump, actually, because he spouted off at the mouth. Mm-hmm. There's tons of things that he did that were just completely shady politically, but he did them for the good of the people.
Right.
And to this day, he is regarded as the governor of Louisiana who promised a bunch of things and delivered every fucking thing.
That's big.
And he was a Democrat during the time of, the Great Depression.
Right.
And so people were sincerely hurting, and so he rallied the state's resources to get people things that they needed. He was the one who started some of the textbook programs in the state where, kids didn't have to pay for textbooks and all of this stuff. Like,
mind you,
he opened charity hospitals.
Right. And that, at that time, Louisiana was still not just the Depression, but they were still going through the remnants of Reconstruction.
No, exactly. So he in his terms, maybe as governor, he took the state from ruin and from people dying of starvation to the modern era in like 8 years, 4 to 8 years, like
right,
drastically improved the state and probably for the entire future of the state. But so he was considered one of the first populist politicians in the country, and he was hated by the elites and the establishment because he was overproducing, and he was giving the peons too much power, too much everything.
Right.
So he was governor. He then became he became United States Senator for Louisiana, and was assassinated in the Louisiana Capitol by a guy who was a doctor and a physician who graduated from my high school, by the way. but there are theories now that he wasn't actually killed by this guy, but that it was one of his bodyguards who killed him. Whether it was an accident or on purpose, that's
because
conspiracy theory.
He was a
But
favorite.
trajectory of bullets and where he might have been hit suggests that it came from friendly fire, quote unquote.
Kind of like the JFK thing, where
Yeah.
now there's there's a more convincing theory, I will say, that it was one of the Secret Service agents and it was on accident,
Right.
trying to fire back at whoever was firing at him.
Right. But
And that's why the papers have never been released, and they're never going to be released.
so they're kind of saying that this was similar to what they're saying about
Maybe
JFK.
someone tried to shoot him, and then the bodyguard tried to shoot back.
But there are the conspiracy theorists who I will give them some credence, who say because he was such a populist governor that the elites, governor and politician, because he went on to be senator, as I said, and he had aspirations for the presidency. By the way, he was going to run for president.
If he had run at the time, he would have beat FDR.
Probably.
Yeah,
But the establishment, the elites, the theory is they hated him so much that they got a bodyguard in there to basically be a plant and look for an opportunity to kill him.
yeah.
And so the theory is the guy took this opportunity. He saw someone come up with a gun, clearly about to assassinate him, and basically timed the bullets to where he could blame it on, it was an accident if it ever came out that he
Right.
did.
There's a weird piece in the Daily Mail today talking about how Iran wants revenge for that General Soleimani's killing, and they have a target on the head of one of our generals and Mike Pompeo and Trump. And it was like, well, how convenient. Like, if someone slips up and tries to go after Trump, then they can blame it on Iran, and then everyone, then they think, it's one less problem to deal with.
I think one of the best stories is the lakes by LSU's campus, which, by the way, that real estate around those lakes is the highest, I think, in the whole entire city of Baton Rouge. Beautiful homes, huge homes around these gorgeous lakes.
Yeah.
And they were going to build I-10 through that area, and Huey Long said, you can't do that because you'll ruin the ecosystem of the lakes. And the people were like, what's he smoking? What lakes is he talking about? The next day there were bulldozers out there building those lakes. Because he didn't want, and his constituents, because the people who lived in the area didn't want the interstate running through their neighborhood.
Right.
And so he was trying to find a way to tell them, you can't do that, you can't do that. And so this was his way of doing that, was funneling state money into building beautiful lakes, which have helped the city and the state, all in like a shady thing. Like,
Now
it was
that's
a
an
complete
infrastructure
lie.
program.
It was a lie.
And it worked. Laurel Canyon was originally supposed to be, they were supposed to put a freeway through there, which is why there's that weird, if you go up, when you're going to the airport, when you drive up La Brea, that La Brea is where Fairfax meets La Brea, and then it makes that weird, you can kind of go faster going over the hill. So that was designed to be a freeway from LAX through Westchester, all the way over the hill, and then either Fairfax or La Brea was going to be replaced. Probably La Brea was going to be replaced by a freeway that was then going to cross over where Fairfax is and go over Laurel Canyon and dump off in the valley. And it was supposed to be and connect to the Whitnall Highway, which was supposed to be all the way through Burbank and up to where the 405 is. And the Whitnall Highway is now a street with power lines on it. That just, the power lines connect from end to end, and nothing is built underneath it. And Laurel Canyon was going to be demolished during that, and so all the people living there, because people have been living there since the 10s and 20s, banded together and said no, which is why from when you're going over Laurel Canyon and you go down towards Ventura, that whole street there is wider than normal. So it's kind of a weird little, like, there's remnants of what could have been, but now that's why people in the valley have such a hard time getting to the freeway, or getting to the airport, because there's not a direct freeway that goes there. You kind of have to, like, weasel over to the 405 and then slide down. But yeah, there were supposed to be so many more freeways in LA that did not get built, which is why we have 1960s at best infrastructure in 2020.
Well, spoiler alert, which if you've been to Louisiana, you know this. They still did build I-10 through that area, but because of the lakes and the nice property, it's now raised. You can see the freeway going through, but the noise isn't bad, and yeah.
Right. Freeways work in cities that are... Although I do have to say, as ridiculous as many people go in and out of New York, the design there of everything is a lot better. One more thing before we break. Buttigieg, Chasen. So he's at a rehab in Michigan, and that's why they're moving there. Why else are they moving to Michigan? What the fuck is the point of moving to Michigan? I thought people were leaving Michigan.
Mitchell, cut that out. We can't afford the slander.
He's allegedly in rehab. What?
He is not allegedly in rehab.
Okay, you think in between...
He might...
You think in between pills and Chardonnay he's going to remember to sue me?
I'm sorry. My Southern really is coming out because I was about to use two modals. He should be in a rehab facility, but he is not currently in a rehab facility.
He was found on the floor of a Total Wine.
Oh my God.
The stress of not raising two kids has really gotten to him.
Well, so, okay, in the article that I read, that was, and it made me laugh, that was one of the reasons they cited for moving from Indiana to Michigan.
I thought they lived in D.C.
Was to be, well, their official residence is in Indiana. So, one of the reasons that they cited for moving to Michigan was so that Chasen could have help from his parents raising the kids.
I thought that his parents threw him out. No, remember his parents threw him out. They were homophobic. Everybody, you hated him. Remember that? They sold that whole story, and then his brother came out and were like, we love him. He left us, and he said he didn't want to be around us, which I believe.
This is what the Advocate reported. They said one of the reasons for the move is so that Chasen's mother can help
someone can raise those kids.
Raise the children.
Remember when they said that, like, we were wondering why Pete went on paternity leave, and then they released these weird photos of Pete in a hospital room with the two little, turds, saying... They were saying they were on incubators, and he was keeping vigil in the hospital because one of the kids had, I don't know, something like fetal alcohol syndrome, something like that, and he was keeping vigil. And it's like, okay, if your child was that sick, resign as Secretary of Transportation. Resign, take the pension, and leave. If you can't do the duties of your job, go. And that whole bullshit about, like, instead he took 2 months of paid paternity leave, didn't do anything. People are dying on bridges because they're not... We have a shipping backup in Long Beach port, and nobody can get the shit that they need. How many other families were affected because he decided to, pop out a couple kids as soon as he got a gig? It's not like he accidentally got pregnant.
No.
It's not like he was like, oh, I had to do... It was an abortion or my career, They chose to have children the second that he got a job.
Yeah.
Couldn't have waited 4 years for the little petri dish. They are... I'm gonna make a statement here.
Uh-oh.
Despite presenting himself as an Obama and talking the same and using the same ridiculous language, white Obama, Pete, that couple, they're gonna try to be the new Clintons. I'm calling it now. I think that Pete is being dragged along, and the real ambitious one is Chasen. But
and one day,
they will kill me.
One day, when we become bigger, and they comb through the archives and find this episode of you talking shit about them, they will come for you.
How are they going to have time to do a lawsuit? Chasen is passed out.
No, I'm not saying it's a lawsuit. I'm saying, like the Clintons, they will literally come for you, and you'll...
It's over, sister. You're canceled. You're canceled.
I'll find a horse head in your bed or something.
A horse head? What are they going to do? I mean, honestly, What could Chasen do? He's too busy running to another MSNBC interview to complain about something that DeSantis did to even bother.
Well, everyone knows, they can spin it any way they want. The reason they're moving to Michigan is because he's running for president. Pete is running for president again, and they feel that being from at least a purple state or a swing state is much better than being from a red state.
I love how the same people who are like, no cops at Pride, like, don't have cops at Pride, would be perfectly fine with a president who's probably killed like 10 people in the army. Allegedly. Because wasn't he a soldier? That's the whole thing. That's part of his...
I thought fairies couldn't... I thought soldiers...
I thought soldiers were real men, not fairies. But that was... Remember when they have tried to market him so many different ways. First of all, they tried to market him as a mayor of a city where he would not have gotten elected again, and the Domino's Pizza had to pay for the streets to be paved. Then they tried to market him as being gay, but in like not a threatening way, like not like he's like a normal, like a straight gay. Then they tried to market him as knowing 5 languages. We never heard any of them. Then they tried to market him as being a veteran. That got tossed aside when it stopped being useful. Like, if you're a Democrat and a veteran, don't talk about it. Like, that got pushed aside. And now they're trying to market him as Secretary of Transportation. Roads are collapsing. Things are backed up at the port. Like, he's basically on paternity leave. And now what are they trying to do? Like, which way will they market him now? Because he is the most uninteresting thumb of a human being you could ever imagine, that they're trying to market as being the next savior of the left.
Well, I hope this article comes back to bite him in the ass, where you can't portray yourself as someone who is a fatherly figure and loves his family when you're claiming one of the reasons you're moving out of state is so that your husband can have help from his mother to raise your kids.
Right.
Like that's painting you in the light that is negative in the father figure scenario.
Say what you will about Dave Rubin, I think he's going to be a much better parent than the Buttigiegs could ever be.
Well, I haven't heard much of or from him recently, so he might be
great.
Hole up somewhere helping his surrogate or something.
Good. He didn't decide to take a government job the second that he decided to have children. Like, he has been successful with what he's done. He moved to a more family-oriented place with his partner, and now they're going to have kids. Great. That's what normal people do. And I know that if he gets any pushback for the Secretary of Transportation thing, he's like, I just had to take care of my children. Well, you took the job first, and it was your choice to have the children. Like, 100% choice.
Yeah, because I remember doing the math. Those children were definitely conceived after he was officially nominated to the position.
What a craven couple.
It doesn't make sense.
On top of everything, I genuinely think that they lied about how they met. Remember how it started with that? We were on a dating app, not the one that you're thinking of. And he said that he liked to hike, and I liked to hike, so we hiked together. Whatever bullshit line that they sold, it was definitely Grindr.
They met up for a blow and go, and it became a marriage.
And it became a suck and stay.
On that note.
Oh, real quick. The hottest club, in the hottest line, the toughest place to get into in New York is the monkeypox vaccine line. Do you know anybody who's been vaccinated? I mean, other than our friend.
I was about to say, we know one.
But other than him?
No.
Okay.
No one cares.
And we know a lot of gays. That's the thing. No one cares. And it's basically an STD.
STI.
Infection versus disease?
Mm-hmm.
It's still a disease.
No. They have rebranded them as STIs because...
That's a type of Subaru.
Because they're curable. So,
then herpes...
Herpes is still an STD, yes, because it's not curable. But gonorrhea, all
chlamydia.
of those are infections because you can clear them up.
Those are my grandbabies.
So monkeypox would technically be an STI, as I like to call them, sexually transmitted infections.
How have I not heard that before from you? It's a good one.
But yes, you are not allowed to use STD unless you are referring to herpes.
Or
I think that's
HIV.
I don't think that was ever considered an STD because you can get it in other ways.
But more likely than not, you're going to get it from sexual purposes.
Right, but the point is...
I mean, you're not getting it from blood transfusions.
But the point is, an STD is something that you can only get through some kind of sexual contact. Which, I don't know, is herpes... Can you only get it through sexual contact? Basically.
I think you can get it from glassware, right?
No.
Hasn't they said that?
No.
If someone has a sore on their lip and they drink out of that cup?
No.
Well, that's how they're trying to sell this monkeypox thing. Is they said you can get it from towels, you can get it from bed sheets, you can get it. And so now everyone's fucking panicking and bleaching their black bed sheets. But I don't understand. I mean, it sounds like that one. Okay, that BuzzFeed video where that guy was like demystifying monkeypox. I got monkeypox recently and everything, and it's like, okay, he acted like it just got it for like as a miasma or something like that. Like it just sort of appeared to him in a dream, and then all of a sudden he had it. No. He had dirty bareback sex, got monkeypox, and now he's like, and this is my story. I've had fever and aches and chills, and I've gotten a few sores on my body, and it's really not that scary, but like, just so you know, all that horseshit. But because nothing can stop the gays from fucking, nothing, because they're relentless in their pursuit of fucking random people. Not the same person, random people. The gays are out getting their monkeypox vaccines. And our friend, who's retarded, hooked up with somebody the day before he was scheduled to go get his vaccine because he just had to get it in. Couldn't just stick to a sock. I yelled at him for that, too. Because he's like, oh, here's how he messages me. He's like, oh, I'm in your neighborhood. Are you home? I was like, oh, no, I'm actually like away right now. Why? I was like, do you want to get a drink or something? He's like, no. I'm like, well, why are you there? He's like, hooking up with somebody. And I'm like, your monkeypox shot is tomorrow morning. It's not retroactive. So if you get this today, I'm going to laugh at you so hard and hope that you're the one fatal case because you were that stupid. This is someone in the healthcare industry too.
Right.
I don't know. I don't get it. Another thing, when are the, and I know now we're going on, but whatever, I think that this is a good topic before I forget about it. When are the lawsuits for PrEP, liver, and kidney damage going to come in? Because I feel like a class action thing is brewing. I think that PrEP is effective for what it needs to be effective at, but like other things, there's side effects that people are still learning about. And especially any medication that's so long-term use like that, as I took it before because it was like everybody has to take it top, bottom, sideways, anything like that. If you see a gay person across the room, you have to take PrEP. And that was the way they sold it. And it was no one ever talked about like, and then I knew someone who personally knew them very well, could not take it because their liver, whatever counts or something like that, was so low that they were basically, and this is not someone who drank either. Their liver counts were so low from taking PrEP that they were like, it can leave me vulnerable to like a serious damage. Other people are just like go into anaphylactic shock because some ingredient or something like that they are allergic to. Someone, this influencer had to get steroid shots to overcome and go to the ER because they tried to take PrEP again. So, and I don't think that there's an alternative. So when is that going to happen? All these like class action lawsuits. Like I took PrEP and I have half a liver now. That's coming.
Probably, but aren't there two... I know there's two companies that sell it, but are they the same
formulation?
Formula, yeah.
I believe so.
I don't know if they legally can sell the same formula.
No, it might be. If not, then it's similar enough to have the same effects, I think. Because I think something about the active ingredient suppressing HIV cells also suppresses other cells in your liver. And if you're also go out and drink and you take it, which you're not really, you're technically not supposed to do. Even though many people chase it with a shot. You're not supposed to. Wait,
you're not supposed to drink while you're on PrEP?
Yes.
So, okay. Well, then any lawsuit that is brought will be lost because they will be able to say,
yeah, they were drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any of these class action lawsuits will go down like that.
Yeah. Well, look, anything
because there's no way you can prove that the prep did more damage than the alcohol or the combination of the two.
Maybe. Unless they find an enterprising doctor that says that, but they said something to the effect of technically it's like taking antibiotics, you're not supposed to drink on it. But they didn't advise people of that at the beginning. Like when you went to a doctor to get it, they were handing them out like candy. Any medication that's pushed by a doctor, and I mean push, not this is something that people take or your condition potentially requires this, but is pushed, has never worked out well. Whether it's been pain medication, PrEP, certain kinds of antibiotics that create antibiotic resistance. Historically, any pushed medication has not been a success. That's always the stuff that later on it's like mesothelioma commercials. I still don't know anybody who suffered from mesothelioma. That's another thing. And that's a real disproportionate thing.
And the fact that we all
know what this obscure disorder is because of asbestos mitigation.
Good night, have a great day, fuck you all, and especially fuck Pete Buttigieg. Bye.